So apparently I get to be really vulnerable and talk about dating after marriage and not really knowing how to date. And I've been getting pings to do this for a minute and I've been avoiding it. And so of course, in my world, that means me ignoring it means all technology would not work today, which would mean it was a perfect time for me to be vulnerable and talk about this. So apparently we're gonna do a few broken down into little chunks. So these are for my ladies. If you're a guy, you can watch them totally. And I'm gonna totally be doing ones on men as well, for men. Because what I have learned in dating after being married for 17 and a half years was, one, we really, really suck at dating, but at having friendships, at creating a foundation of friendships. People don't know how to be friends anymore, how to show up as a friend anymore, how to be completely honest and vulnerable with a friend anymore and build a foundation on friendship. And so, and I sucked at it too. So let me get that completely out of the way. I sucked at it too because all I ever knew was how to be married. So when it was like, oh, now you have to date, I will divulge that I started with like 200 questions that guys had to go through before they could even get to message me. And then they were just put on an app where they still didn't have my number or really know my real name. Because I figured if they made it through 200 questions, then they authentically want to like get to know me a little bit better. And I at least know those things about them to know if it was even a matchup. That's not really being vulnerable though. That was me trying to save my time and screen through the thrift store. So I sucked at it too. It's not just you. But now I have learned that my dating is, you have to become my friend. I'm not dating for dating and like, woo, that's my person. You have to become my friend. Show me how you show up as a friend. Not letting that stupid illusion that we create in our head of the possibilities that scares the crap out of people. We don't get to get lost in that. Instead, we are figuring out normal conversation, how they show up as a friend. Do they return calls? Do they text you when they say they're going to? Do they show up when they say they're going to? And guess what, girls? That takes sex off the table. They don't get to earn any of this until they show up as a friend. They don't get any of the other. They have to earn that. Both of us have to earn that. That means, how are we showing up as a friend? And for me, I had to learn, because I have this lovely thing, intuition, that likes to like send me pings about people that need me to reach out or that might be having a bad day or whatever. And I used to take that as like, no, I am not gonna reach out and hopefully they're smiling today because they haven't returned a phone call or whatever it is. That is based on me and loving unconditionally and being who I say I am, and has nothing to do with how they show up. So now I don't care if they respond, because guess what? When we have attachments to them responding, that is a codependency issue that we probably should work on. So I have no attachments to them responding. If they're lost in their head, if they're stuck, if they're whatever, and I get my intuition for someone that pops into my head that might need a little burst of support, smile, something, I'm gonna send them a video. I don't care if I haven't talked to them in 6 months, a year, 2 months, a week, and they haven't responded, whatever, doesn't matter. I know that people are sent into my life for a reason. I know that people are sent into people's lives for a reason. And when we're getting out of marriages and all of our friendships are intertwined and you have no safe space because they're all like merged together and you need to find a new friend zone, you need to make new friends. You need to find a new tribe, which means we're not dating for just relationships. We're dating to learn how to have friendships, how to communicate, how to speak our truth, how to tell people who we are and be authentic to that, not shrinking because we think that's what they want. Because I don't know about you, but for me, if a man is not confident in who he is, if he can't tell me what he loves and what he doesn't, what he's learned through his like journey of life and certain things about his confidence level and knowing who he is, I am not attracted at all. So that means if he's shrinking, I'm not attracted to that. I don't know about you guys, but a man to me is someone who is confident and I don't feel like I have to protect them down the alleyway, right? If I feel like I'm stronger than they are, that is not a turn on. I feel like women, we were taught to be seen but not heard, quiet, you know? But all that does is actually hide our crazy, beautiful uniqueness. So, if you catch yourself hiding your crazy, beautiful uniqueness, know that the person you're talking to isn't falling in love with you. They aren't falling into friendship with you. They're falling into the fake person that you believe they want. And how is that going to play out 6 months from now, a year from now, if they're not really seeing you and you're shaming parts of you? So, I dare you to actually be dating for friendships. Everybody that I've dated pretty much, I still am friends with. If I get a ping that they need a reach out, I will reach out to them and see how they're doing. I don't have people that I've met. Well, there was a few crazies. Let's be real here. There was a few crazies in there, but those ones aren't part of my world anymore. But I had to learn that. I didn't know they were crazy until I talked to them, got to know them, and realized that they were a little cray-cray. But I think that we confuse connection and intimacy with love. Connection and intimacy is how many people in your circle, men or women, actually fully see you, actually fully know you. No hidden pieces, all your imperfections, someone that you know you could call at the drop of a hat and talk about the crazy truth that's going on in your head. If you don't have that, you need to work on friendships, connection, and intimacy, because sex is not intimacy. Sex is not love. And if you aren't willing to share your vulnerable truth that is you, all you, authentically you, with even a friend, how do you think it's going to magically show up without any practice in a relationship? And we attract what we are. So that means our mirror is we will attract non-emotional ones that don't know how to show up for themselves, don't know how to communicate their vulnerable truth, don't love themselves fully, and that's not who I want. So I had to learn the hard way, apparently why I get to do these for you, how to see when I wasn't showing up, see when I was hiding pieces of me because I was worried I might be too much, because sometimes we were taught we might be too much. I remember not wanting people to pick me up from my old house because it didn't represent me, and I knew men were shrinking if they picked me up from that house. And I realize now that wasn't my problem. That was their problem. So I stopped fucking shrinking. If they have a problem that I had an acre, a 15-car shop, and a nice house, they have some issues that they need to work on because they are never going to be able to stick around for my dreams and goals. So maybe, just maybe, we need to learn to love ourselves a little bit more. We need to not create the illusion in our head that a connection, an immediate connection, we get lost in the what ifs, how beautiful it could be, is this the person, all of those things. But then that same thing is happening to the guy. And he hasn't dealt with any of his shit either, which means now he's running the opposite direction. And when we run the opposite direction, when they do, and they're in fear because they don't know how to deal with their emotions, process it, and are too scared of getting their heart hurt, we take it on as our own self-worth. We need to remember how someone else shows up, that's on them. That's their representation of themselves. That's not on us. It's not our self-worth that needs to be questioned. They weren't man enough to show up. They weren't man enough to speak their emotions if they run. And most of them actually eventually come back and talk about it, but it might take them a minute. So I challenge you to actually start dating for friendships. Learn how to speak your truth. Learn how to be intimate with even your friends. Have a circle of 5 at least that you can speak open and vulnerably to and that can see you. Learn how to communicate, not just yes through conversations or agree with what they're saying, or if you're the one talking and a man's just agreeing with what you're saying and it feels like that crazy connection. Most of the time I've noticed those are usually narcissists that are pretty much giving you exactly the map that you're wanting, and they're just going off of what you say for what the map is, so they know what to say. Especially if you're an empath, we attract them like crazy. It's like we're a big friggin' spotlight. So, ladies, we're gonna be talking about dating. We're gonna be talking about intimacy. We're gonna be talking about sexual shit, all sorts of the nitty-gritties that I had to learn and my lessons through them. And maybe, hopefully, it helps you along your journey too. And even if you're not dating, this is something that we should be doing like with normal friends. So I'll even talk about when I started like waking up and doing things for myself when I was married. You don't know how to speak it to your husband or any of that kind of crap. So you're actually like bridging the gap. You're making the gap bigger when you don't know how to talk about it. And so I'll talk about some of that stuff too. But I think it will be a beautiful journey to talk about with some women, because I talk about it individually, but I think a lot more women need it than I originally thought. I am not the only one that has dealt with this, and I know I'm not alone. So might as well share our stories together, right? Learn from each other, save us some pain and some lessons, and learn it without having to go through it, if you choose to. We all have free will. Love you, ladies.